The State Department approved the paramilitary training of 4 Saudis who were involved in the murder and dismemberment of Jamal Khashoggi. The State Department approved that paramilitary training, which by the way was conducted by a private company, and it happened in the lead up to Jamal Khashoggi getting murdered and dismembered in the Turkish, or I should say the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. So that happened back in 2018. The story is out of control, especially when you consider that the same military that believes that socialism is a national security risk, the same State Department that considers socialism a national security risk, approves this type of paramilitary training for operatives from a authoritarian and brutal regime such as that of the Saudi royals. Now, 4 Saudis, as I mentioned, who participated in the 2018 killing of the Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi, received paramilitary training by the Arkansas-based security company Tier 1 Group, which is owned by a private equity firm known as Cerberus Capital Management in the United States the previous year under a contract that was approved by the State Department. But the murdering of Jamal Khashoggi isn't the only downside of a private US company training these operatives. So the instruction occurred in secret, or as the secret unit responsible for Khashoggi's killing was beginning an extensive campaign of kidnapping, detention, and torture of Saudi citizens ordered by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, Saudi Arabia's de facto ruler, to crush dissent inside the kingdom. So a private US-based company provided paramilitary training for Saudi operatives who not only took part in murdering Jamal Khashoggi, but then used that training to further brutalize the people of Saudi Arabia. That's what the State Department approved. And by the way, there is absolutely no remorse in the response that we got from a State Department spokesperson today. Now, Tier 1 has claimed that, look, we provided defensive training. It's all we did. That's what we did. That's our job. That's what we do. These people did not engage in defensive behavior. They murdered a Washington Post journalist and dismembered him. So that's important to keep in mind. Now, one person familiar with the training said it also included work in surveillance and close quarters battle. Now, the bloated defense budget certainly plays a role in this because Tier 1 Group was founded to train US military personnel, taking advantage of an expanded Pentagon budget for military personnel training in basic counterinsurgency skills. And when exactly did this program take place? When did the State Department approve this paramilitary training for these Saudi operatives? Well, it actually started back in 2014. This was not under the Trump administration. This started under the, you guessed it, Obama administration, who was terrible on foreign policy, terrible when it came to these types of issues, clearly, because it was Obama's State Department that approved this private company offering this paramilitary training to Saudi operatives. The State Department initially granted a license for the paramilitary training of the Saudi Royal Guard to Tier 1 Group starting in 2014 during the Obama administration. The training continued during at least the first year of former President Donald Trump's team. Now, in response to this, as I had referenced earlier, the State Department seems to lack any and all remorse. Because Ned Price, the State Department spokesperson, said this: the administration insists on responsible use of US origin defense equipment and training by our allies and partners and considers appropriate responses if violations occur. Do you guys insist? Do you guys insist that the operatives of an autocratic regime use the training that we've provided them in a responsible way? Is that what you guys are suggesting? Okay, great, strong words there. And the comment continues to say that Saudi Arabia faces significant threats to its territory, and we are committed to working together to help Riyadh strengthen its defenses. Listen, the United States sees Saudi Arabia as an ally because the United States is already engaged in a conflict with Iran. They see Saudi Arabia as an incredibly important ally in further isolating Iran. That's what this is all about. The United States has a long history of working with awful regimes in order to fight against whoever our enemy is at the time. Right now, it happens to be Iran. So we're even willing to offer up paramilitary training to operatives from Saudi Arabia because we hate Iran so much. It's insane. But that's only, I think, half of the explanation. There's also the issue of money in politics. Let me first just note that if you look at the funding that Cerberus Capital Management has offered in lobbying in 2020 alone, this is in 1 year, they spent a whopping $6,449,979 on contributions, campaign contributions in 2020 alone. So they want to ensure that they get approved for this type of project. And would you look at that? They easily do get approved because they pay for that approval. So money in politics plays a role as well. But I want to go back to Joe Biden specifically, because he certainly had some strong words for Mohammed bin Salman, the Saudi royal prince, or crown prince, I should say, who had ordered the murder and dismemberment of Jamal Khashoggi. When he was campaigning, when he was debating, Joe Biden really presented himself as a tough guy who differentiated himself from Donald Trump, who really just served as an MBS apologist, a Mohammed bin Salman apologist. Take a look at this video. This is from one of the debates in the 2020 election cycle.
President Trump has not punished senior Saudi leaders. Would you?
Yes, and I said it at the time. Khashoggi was in fact murdered and dismembered, and I believe in the order of the Crown Prince. And I would make it very clear, we were not going to in fact sell more weapons to them. We were going to in fact make them pay the price and make them in fact the pariah that they are.
Ooh, he's gonna make the Saudis the pariah that they are. Did he do that? So Biden gets elected. He says that he's different from Trump. He's not gonna suck up to the Saudis. He's gonna hold them accountable. Did that actually happen? Let's watch.
I think Biden failed by setting the expectations too high. When he was a candidate for the presidency, he said he wanted to make the Saudis, and in this case, particularly Prince Mohammed, a pariah. Now that's a very high bar, and he has spectacularly failed in that. He has named and shamed the Crown Prince in this report, but when it comes to actual actions, there are sanctions on 76 different Saudis. He's not among them.
So no consequences for the ringleader here, Mohammed bin Salman. We're still working with the Saudi royals in regard to the brutality that's taking place in Yemen. I mean, it's shameful, it's disgusting. And these politicians who say one thing on the campaign trail and then turn around and do the exact opposite, do they think we're not paying attention? And what makes this story even more infuriating is that while the State Department gave a green light to this paramilitary training for Saudi operatives, who then turned around and murdered Jamal Khashoggi, they're training our soldiers to consider or think of socialism as something that's as dangerous as Nazi ideology in the United States. This is an incredible story written by Ken Klippenstein. Please read his work here because I think it's important. It gives you a sense in just how members of the military are indoctrinated and how certain things get conflated, and it's just completely inaccurate and destructive. A section of a Navy counterterrorism training document subtitled Study Questions includes the following: anarchists, socialists, and neo-Nazis represent which terrorist ideological category? The correct answer is political terrorists. So our military, our State Department, they think that socialists or socialism is a form of political terrorism on par with neo-Nazism. But they'll approve the paramilitary training of operatives from Saudi Arabia. That's okay, that's okay. But if you want to question the economic model in the United States, might be a terrorist. It's just disgusting and absolutely shameful.